You're listening to a lifestyle podcast with Lovoni and Sarah. Our goals: to inspire good health and well-being, empowerment, beauty and joy, offering support and friendship as we share our journeys in the hopes it helps you. Hello my friends, and thanks for tuning in to what was once the Waiting Room Podcast. I'm Lovoni, and together with my co-host Sarah, we want to let you know our podcast has changed its name from the Waiting Room Podcast to simply Lovoni and Sarah. Now, along with the name change, we're doing some rebranding and developing a website, all very exciting, and we'd love you to come along on this adventure with us. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. How you feel about yourself and the way you treat yourself can influence relationships with others. And how much does weight, health, and your size have a bearing on all of this? Welcome to episode 8 of the Waiting Room Podcast. I'm Lovoni, coming to you from Indiana in the Midwest in the US, and I'm joined by my co-host Sarah from the Cotswolds in England. But before we delve into what I'm sure will be quite an insightful episode, let's go over what our goals were for the last week and chat about how we did. Care to share, Sarah?
Okay, I feel like I'm about to introduce myself at a confessional meeting. Hello, I'm Sarah, and I haven't stuck to my goals. I did have my goals. It's not like I completely abandoned them. Do you know, I don't know if anyone else is feeling this, but I don't know if some sort of planet situation, we were just talking about this earlier, but it's happening. But this week has just felt, number one, like the longest week of all time. And it's just been like walking through treacle, and all I've done is completely abandon my own self-care. Like completely abandon it. I haven't done any exercise. I haven't planned my meals. I just haven't done all of the things that I said I was going to do and that I was determined and focused on doing and that I was doing the week before and that was working so well. And do you know, I was reflecting on it last night thinking, and this is exactly what happens. I feel yuck. I feel enormous for a start. I feel heavy. I feel tired, and quite appropriately for talking about this episode, I don't like myself much over the last couple of days. And yeah, so I think what's happened is I just haven't made time for myself, my own priorities. I've just been really, really busy, a juggle with everything, and just not bothered to put myself at the top. And it wasn't an intentional self-destructive thing. It was just I haven't got time sort of thing. So yes, I am Sarah, and I haven't done my goals.
Putting yourself at the top of your low priority list.
I wasn't even on it, Lovoni. I just haven't done it. I just haven't done it. I was just like, no, I've got to get this done. And what I think happened was I've been getting up early, even in my dressing gown, going straight down to my desk. So as we talked about before, I work from home, work for myself. So just starting downstairs really early. Before you know it, it's mid-morning. Then thinking, bloody hell, right, I've got to go have a shower, and it's just my routine and my preparation and everything's just gone out of the window.
So we need to chat about we'll talk about the episode, but then at the end maybe chat about how you're going to get yourself back on track.
So I feel better, I feel lighter already for sharing.
That's
I feel
good.
like I've been walking around in a cloud thinking I'm not being honest because I've told everybody
right.
like doing this and doing that. I haven't done it.
So yesterday, Sarah messaged me and she said how she felt manic. And I thought, God, there's got to be something going on, because I just felt this week like this big, not even grey cloud, it was just black, was just hanging over me. And I've started journaling, which I think helps.
Okay.
And granted, Monday there was one line in it because I had a sick dog, so he had to constantly go out and I had to take him to the vet, and then afterwards just all sort of spiraled. But I've been just writing, just getting it out, and I found as I was writing, it felt like it didn't feel like the cloud was gone, but I felt if I'm going to use, this is what I said in my journal, that I was walking in the darkness, like through a field, and far off in the distance I could see this tiny light which is like a farmhouse or something.
Uh-huh.
And so I knew, even though I still feel this way, that little light, I guess, signifies hope.
Hope.
And so, and that's what I'm kind of clinging to right now.
Okay.
And I did feel better, I have to say. I woke up this morning feeling better. Plus, I've lost 3.8 kilos, which I think is 7.6 pounds. Now, granted, I didn't weigh myself last week, so that's
okay. So that's over a fortnight.
That's like for 2 weeks there. That's happened. My goal for last week was, you were talking about deciding. You were going to decide to do this, and that's what I kept saying to myself. Like, I have decided to do this, and I can't believe how much that kept me on track.
It really works. I know
it does
the week
work.
Before it really had, but
even when
it's
just been shit. Even when I didn't feel like exercising, there was, I think, one day, and that's because my husband was working on we put a closet in our workout room, which is what I'm sitting in, by the way. Normally I sit in my office, but Sarah can see behind me I've got like this big
it's like
gym
sort of halo hanging
looks like it's growing out of my head. So there was just one day, but even when the day got away from me or whatever, I still came in and did something, and I felt quite virtuous afterwards, I have to say.
Really good.
And then my eating, I've started juicing again, which sounds like code for something.
Well done, you. Someone's feeling perky after a week of being
Yes, I've started juicing again after menopause. No. I didn't really have that problem. TMI, but anyway, it's something I do like to do every now and again is juice. No,
I'm not sure
So, carrot, celery, cucumber, apple, lemon, things like that. And what I find is it just gives me, it's like sticking my finger in a socket and just gives me this zing. Yeah. And I think one is because it's hydrating me. It's like an immediate hydration. Yeah. And two, just getting that hit of nutrients. So I've been doing that.
Saying that's definitely just, when you try to become more aware of like what has been happening this week. So, it's really important, I think, for people to share our journey and our goals, because they're doing the same thing at their age, so we're all in this together. But just to give a bit of a top tip for anyone else that may be feeling like me this week and struggling a bit, is I have not drunk water or really any fluid particularly at all, and I think that's part of the problem. Got too busy, I've got too busy again. I'm like, I must go and get a drink in a minute. Haven't. I've been working on a really huge illustration and then the graphics side of things. So you just get massively stuck at your desk and focused. And I think that's part of the problem. I'm really dehydrated, which doesn't help you focus, makes you feel like you're hungry, and then, your actual routine goes out the window because actually you're scrabbling for things. So just as a bit of a heads up for anyone else that feels like me this week, because I'm sure there are, have a think about how much water you've been drinking. Have you been drinking enough? I definitely haven't. So that's one of the first things I thought this morning, is like, I need to get this back on track. I went up to London at the weekend. I shared a couple of photos. It was an afternoon and evening trip up there. But because I didn't want to have to keep stopping for a toilet all the time, I didn't drink a huge amount. And then, boy, did I feel that by the time I got home. I was gasping for a drink, had a headache, it's all those things. So, just as a bit of a thinking moment for anyone else that's feeling a bit of a stuck situation, have you been drinking your water?
I've started putting it in a jug just in front of me in the kitchen, and every time I see it, I think I need to drink 2 of those jugs a day.
Yeah.
And so it's just a good reminder. It's not cold because it has to be ice water, but I just put ice in it, and I think it helps. But talking about, so that was how we did with our goals last week.
Yeah.
And you know what? You just got to move on from this week.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't beat myself up in as far as... But don't let it be the slippery slope of giving up.
Yes.
This is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like, as
exactly.
we've spoken about many times, small steps, regroup, start, regroup.
Yeah.
What I need to do is exactly as we talked about in our routine episode, is go back to focusing on my routine, because it was becoming a nice habit. My habit has completely left me.
Right.
So focus back on my routine again. So, busy or not, it's not negotiable, is it? If I'm going to get a result, I'm going to have to do it.
Right. Even 10 minutes. And I find with me doing it, and just, how I said I've just been in this sort of really sad, depressive state, and oh gosh, I feel so much better after I exercise. I do have to say, I feel so much better, even if it's just a quick, 20 minutes. Just makes a world of difference. So yeah, anybody out there that's just feeling like everything went to shit this week or last week, it'll be. Sarah and I record this on a Thursday, very early in the morning, I must say, for me anyway. For Sarah, it's lunchtime. Don't give up. Just right now decide, I'm going to do this. And that will lead us in. That actually does, it's a good segue for our, oh, wait, hang on. Another one of my goals. You know how I'm doing my February purge. Yeah. So yesterday, do you believe it? I haven't drawn 28 yet, because numbers 1 through 28, for people listening, I'm doing like a daily purge. I put the numbers from 1 through 28 into a jar, and each day I draw one out, and whatever number I draw out, I have to purge that many things. Yesterday I had 27. I've drawn one out. Oh, that was like, oh, yay. And, when you're busy and you have to go and do that, just adds another level to your day.
What did you do? What 27 things did you get rid of?
Oh, so I have, in the guest bedroom, I have an old blanket box in there that stuff just sort of goes where I don't know where to put it, or I'm done with it, or I don't really like it, I just shove it in there. And so I opened it up and I'm like, what don't I use? Pretty much everything in there. What don't I like? And so it almost all went, like cushion covers, some old blankets, couple of things that I had made because I like to crochet. It all went, and honestly, it just makes you feel so much lighter.
Well, I thought of you because my son and I had to get up really early one day this week. He had an important thing to go off to, so both up early. He then was upstairs getting himself sorted, and while I was waiting for him to come down and for the kettle to boil, I thought, I'm going to do my spice cupboard. We talked about it.
Right.
My God, I was thinking of you while I was doing it for two reasons. Number one, thinking about your numbers being pulled out, thinking, I'm doing the same thing. I also thought of you because you would have flipping had a horror struck look on your face when you saw how out of date my
oh God, really?
Were. So I had the bin next to me, and I was literally picking them up and just putting them straight in the bin.
You have to be ruthless. You really have to be ruthless.
And then I put them all in alphabetical order and everything.
Oh, it makes such a difference.
And he came down the stairs and said, it's 7:20 in the morning.
And you're doing that.
Why exactly are you yanking all the things out of the spice cupboard? I said, well, get it done now. I might as well. Right. I had the same thought of you this week. So that feels nice. It's nice. It does. Very empty because there's barely anything.
I go and look in cupboards and drawers and things that I've gone through and just marvel. And I do. I admire. I think like the spare closet in the guest room where, you just put shit, you just shove shit in there. Anyway, if anybody out there needs to get rid of stuff out of their house, which you all do, I know you all do, it's a really good way to do it. It forces you to do it. I haven't drawn today's number out yet. We'll see what that is. Sarah said to me, you mustn't have anything left in your house, but you'd be amazed.
You've got a really clear house already.
But you'd be amazed at how much stuff that you just hang on to because you think maybe one day I'll use it, or my clothes, that's a good one. Anyway, but on to today, which we're talking about the relationship we have with ourselves, and I mean really it's the foundation for all the relationships in your life. When you love yourself in a healthy way, I think people can see that you have sort of I don't know whether you call it a glow about it, but I think you also attract people that treat you the way that you need to be treated. And I have to say, I haven't been very good at this. Throughout my life, I haven't. When I was little, I used to write notes, and I think we talked about this in one of our first episodes. I used to write notes and leave them under my mum's pillow when she was out, apologising for things. Just, not things that I had done, because fundamentally I was a good kid. I used to fib a bit, but I used to get a beating for it. But, just apologising for having a crooked finger or, I don't know, biting my nails, just silly things like that I absolutely hated myself for. And, I mean, as a little kid, I had already...
That sounds like anxiety, though.
That, perhaps. And, and then thinking as an adult where that came from. Did it come from abandonment from my dad? I always thought that I should accept responsibility for how I've been in my life, but when you talk to people or, like a psychiatrist or something, I mean, that resonates through your life. So, I am not good at having a good relationship with myself, I have to say. How I feel about myself. I'm confident in, my work and what I do, but, and I try not to compare myself to others, but I think I'm getting a little better and not giving a shit what other people think about me. And, because
that comes with age a little bit.
I think so, yes. I definitely think that happens. But what
not
about
calling
you?
You old, just to clarify.
No, that's fine.
No.
But it does. It's amazing how age does change you. And
I think it does, and I think you become, as really aware of what's happening around you, and people that are, passing away way too young, and then you suddenly sort of think, dear bloody God, that's how only 5 years older than me, or whatever it might be, and you just think, you do suddenly realise just how damn short life is.
Right, yeah.
And you just sort of think you have to make the most of it, and that's easy to forget on a daily basis, but that also helps you just to get that moment to care far less about what people think about you, don't you? Yeah.
And really you should be focusing on what you think of yourself, really.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not doing the whole kumbaya thing, you have to love yourself, which, would be good because, that's good. But I think, like, the relationship we have with ourselves is like any other that,
I think,
it ebbs and flows.
It does, and I think it's the nub of it is, I think there'll be days when you do like yourself more than others. There'll be times, like particularly not really liking myself at all this week, just because I've not put healthy food in, I've not taken care of myself, and the result is you just don't like the way you feel, which translate into what you don't like, what you're looking in the mirror, and all of those sorts of things. But I think underneath all of that, which is kind of for me quite the superficial element, it's having faith in yourself, isn't it? To know actually that you are valuable and actually you value yourself, which means that other people then have to value you. One of the things that I personally have slipped into in previous years, in pretty much, my formative years and all the way through my adulthood, is my value has been based on what other people have thought about me. So whether that's men that I've been in relationships with or friendships, and I just sort of think I've always put myself in a situation, if they've not thought or made me think they don't think highly of me, I clearly am not worth a huge amount, and I don't, their opinion mattered more than my own, which is not correct. Obviously we all have to be a little bit open-minded to other people giving help or recommendations or advice, don't we? It's not like, you're burying your head in the sand. But and I spent some time a few years back really on my own, but really thinking about that and thinking about why is it that I need someone's external sort of validation of how I feel, and just realised just exactly who I am and what I've got to give. And my God, why am I doing that? Why am I waiting or asking for someone else to tell me the way I should be feeling, or the way I, how much value I have? And it's not easy to sort of give some people say, well, how did you do that then? I spent a lot of time trying to get out of my own head. So, you spend a lot of time overthinking things, anxiety, like you were describing when you're writing your notes and things. That easily washes over you, doesn't it? So I spent quite a bit of time trying to get out of my head, and I did that by going for a bike ride. I find bike rides are the best thing for not thinking about anything, because you're just pedaling away. I mean, I was outside bike riding, and you see the countryside whizzing by and all that sort of thing. So that I did that quite a lot, and I was just being me. And all of a sudden, the more you do that, the more you feel like you've got permission just to keep doing it, don't you? It's one of those sort of healthy muscle things. You just sort of think, well, if I start off small and I'm just okay just to be me cycling along, and it really doesn't matter, no one else is looking at me, that muscle gets exercised a bit, and then you just start doing it more and more and more. So that's one thing I could sort of say of how I did it, was spend some time on my own. I went outside and just stopped thinking of anything. And any time a thought popped into my head, whether it was shopping, whether it was cleaning, whether it was a bad thought about myself, I was like, nope, push it out of my head, and just had nothing, literally nothing there at all.
It's that self-awareness.
Yeah, just physically feeling the wind in my face, and sounds a bit cringe, I suppose, but that's exactly what I was doing. So that's one way I've kind of reset, I think. But I think you do need to actually work on it. It doesn't just happen.
No,
I think you
definitely
need to put the work in to do that.
I mean, overall, if someone was to meet me, like, I'm a confident person. I will tackle pretty much anything. I could walk into a room full of people that I don't know and go and talk to people. So I do have that self-confidence. But I think, obviously, you can have that without particularly liking yourself. I don't know. But I think, like any relationship, whether it be a friend, a spouse, your boss, well, that's us, right? That there has to be that acceptance, so you have to have some self-acceptance for yourself, which means accepting, the warts and all part. And unlike other people that you like to change, you can change yourself. I think people can fundamentally change themselves. But like you said, it's something that you have to work on. So I think that if people that are listening to this are thinking, I have struggled with, issues with how I think about myself, then, maybe write a list of things about could be within your, things within yourself you'd like to change, or outside influences, and write a list down of what they are, and then look at what you can do. Like, where do I feel deprived? Maybe what do I need more of? Could be affection, could be time on your own. What do I need less of? Well, I know I need less food. Some people need less stress. Like, how can you, deal with that? What do you want right now? What are you yearning for? Because I think that's what I was going to say, because I do that. And we've talked about this before, when you were having a tricky day, I think about what I want for my future. Like, forget everyone else and everything else around me. Focus 100% for a few minutes just on me. And what do I want? And what does it look like? Right. And then in my head, run through a few scenarios of how am I going to get to there then? Right. And I think that's exactly as you were just saying then. It is a case of, what do I want? And that's another tip that I would recommend, is just spend some time actually mapping out. It doesn't have to be grand. You don't have to expect to be, suddenly flying off to Barbados or something. Within your own space, Right. Do you want a tidier bedroom because you want to go to bed feeling like you've got this really lovely, serene, comfortable space? If that's what I want, what am I going to do to get that? Right. If it's not already like it. So that's, I would do that. It's just to chunk it down small, like we've said lots and lots of times, but really, really focus on what you want that is not dependent on anybody else. Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing too, is if you are struggling in relationships with other people, then one of the first things I think anybody should do is to look at themselves. Work on yourself first before you make any crazy rash decisions. Yes. Whether to quit your job, whether to leave your partner, unless it's over the top, you're in an abusive relationship or something like that. But, and another thing too, is when people do this, when they think about, like you were saying, what you want, don't think you're being selfish. When you write the list down, what am I starving for? What is causing me to feel this way about myself? Like I said, what do I need? All those things. Don't think you're being selfish. To do this and to do it properly, you have to be honest with yourself, not write something down and think, oh, that sounds, like I'm being greedy or I'm being selfish. You have to get that out of your head, because it's not. Self-love is not being selfish.
It's having boundaries as well, isn't it? I've never been very good at that.
No, it's definitely having boundaries and sticking up for yourself. It's okay healthy to stick up for yourself. It's healthy. I mean, you don't have to do it in a crazy way, although sometimes I can do that. I know with my husband, I try and keep the peace because I hate confrontation, and I'll stay calm, but then suddenly I unleash the beast. And then I get, oh my God, you're crazy. Yeah. And which, sends me into a whole nother stratosphere.
Doesn't help.
No. So I think it's important to say to people, that's not right, no matter who it is. Even your boss, for people that, aren't lucky enough to work for themselves, to say, that's not right, I don't like the way you treated me, just to set some boundaries.
Yeah, I think speaking up, I noticed a good few years back now is how quickly you can change a vibe or the unspoken in a room by changing your own attitude.
Yes.
So if you're, in a room, perhaps you have had a bit of a falling out with a partner or whatever it is, there's that just sort of vibe and sort of fog that's hanging around. The more you funk it out in your head and you think, getting grumpy about it and roll it over and over, it just continues, doesn't it, in the room? If you can change the way that, all you can do is control yourself. So if you can change the way that you think and then start behaving, it's amazing how quickly that completely changes the room.
Right.
And you'll see the other person start to respond a bit differently because obviously the pressure's then been lifted a little bit. And the key to that is, again, yourself, your attitude. So, and the way that you're thinking, and there's a big, powerful, unspoken word, isn't there? And it's through body language, it's through thought that's just in that room, and I think tapping into that really is helpful. And that's not sort of too woo-woo. I think it's just your whole physical person changes when you think differently. Right. The same as you were describing the way you think about yourself. If you don't, like this week I've not liked myself very much, and you look in the mirror and you sort of think your shoulders are slumped and you just sort of, you don't have any confidence.
The way you carry yourself.
You just, the moment you can just stop, have a good think about yourself, the way that your own thoughts are running in your head, your physical body language changes and you change. And that's a really good tip for someone if they're having difficulty at work or with friends or relationships, is actually start thinking about it differently. Notice how your body language changes. And then it doesn't mean that the problem's going to go away, but you'll confront it differently, won't you? And you'll confront it with a more positive approach and more likely to get something resolved, not fixed. It doesn't mean you're going to fix everything, because that's another thing I've always tried to do, is fix everyone and everything. You can't do that. You can't fix everyone and everything. No. But what you can do is control yourself. Right. And then you get the best possible outcome that could be out of it.
So I was just thinking, as I was listening to you say that I'm doing my February purge. That could also be about, like me. I could do a Lovoni purge, because I tell you, I hang on to shit. If you have wronged me in any way, not you in particular, Sarah.
I promise I
haven't. But she's an Aries, so, who knows?
There's a chance,
right? Because I'm married to one of those. But if somebody has wronged me, I will be okay with them as far, not everybody necessarily. But on the outside, I might be all right. But inside, I will fucking remember that
forever
until I die. And that is not healthy. That whole forgive and forget thing, Oh, I think that's bullshit. Sorry. But, you don't have to forgive somebody if they've treated you really badly. But, man, you have to turn the page and move on.
Just let it go.
Because when you carry all that stuff with you, like I carry it on my ass, on my boobs, on my stomach, you know what I mean? Like I am carrying all that resentment and shit around with me, and I need to just let it go. I will just ponder it. Ponder sounds nice. Sounds like you're sitting under a tree eating an apple reading
ruminate
a book.
over it.
But ruminate. That's good. On something that my husband said to me, in the first year of our marriage, this July we've been married for 17 years, 13 years. Like, I still think of that and think, oh my God, it was said in anger. Move on, Lovoni.
Yeah.
Because all of that resentment culminates itself, and for me, I think it culminates itself in weight gain.
Yeah.
And I really need to. It doesn't mean I forgive people that have wronged me, but I need to just,
Do you know how I did that once? So when I was in my very early 20s, I was renting a property and I got completely done over by the estate agent. I mean, completely done over. And they took my deposit off of me. Wrongly so. And I was furious. And there was nothing I could do about it because I didn't have photographic evidence, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, a bit like you just described, I was carrying that around. I was just furious.
Right.
And then I went, I took myself off on my own. I went to Kenya and got on the plane and off I went and travelled around and did different bits there. As a 23-year-old woman on my own in Kenya, it was quite a thing. Anyway, that's me. I'm a little bit all or nothing.
Right.
But I say little, I am completely all or nothing. And when I got over that, I was on a safari jeep, still thinking about this bloody estate agent that I could quite literally write. And I just thought, Sarah, seriously, in the mix of things, does it matter? Yes, it's annoying, and I'll never forgive them for it. But what I I couldn't physically do it. What I did in my head was take the issue that I was thinking about, put it in an envelope, and then mentally chucked it out on the plains of Africa. Now that sounds a bit weird, isn't it? But I did. I took it, put it in an envelope in my head and flung it out there. So mentally littered. And even now, if I try to recall all of the stuff, somehow it's just not there. Huh. And all my brain does is go back to that envelope and go, but I've lost it. It's gone. And someone else gave me a tip, weirdly, because I was stressing about a really big project at work, and he was, sort of, we were co-workers saying what was wrong. I said, I can't sleep because I keep thinking about all these things for the morning. And obviously there's the tip of having the notebook next to your bed. So if you wake up, write it down on the notebook and then leave it. But he said the same thing. He does this mental envelope and he puts it in an envelope and then in his head, and puts it and posts it to himself. And he said, and I'll think about that in the morning when I get the post. So he then says he's got nothing there to think about. And in the morning he goes and picks his post up and opens the mental envelope, and then he thinks about it again. So that's completely independent situations.
Right.
And we both did the same thing. And it really does work. So that's another tip for you, even if you're going over and over and over these things, just post them off, leave them somewhere else, but somewhere that you're never going to go revisit back to.
It reminds me of something I did one New Year when I was spending New Year with a friend who lives in Queensland in Australia, and she said, write things down that you struggled with during the year, or that you didn't like, or all the things that we've been talking about, and then we're going to burn them.
Burn it, yeah. I've seen people do that.
I think that that's what I'm going to do. But when you write these things down, don't read back through them, because you're writing them down, you're getting them out.
Well, you're just reliving it.
You don't want to. You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to read it and absorb it again. Get it out and then burn it. That's what I'm going to do. Maybe not in the house. I'll burn it outside, because it'll be like a fucking scroll, I reckon.
I was about to say, it depends. Well,
it's going to be like a roll of toilet paper.
It's going to be like fireworks night. Whoa!
You know what I need to do? I need to set the timer, because Sarah and I are into this whole blocks of time thing, where we do things in blocks of 50 minutes, and then you've got 10 minutes to do whatever, put a load of washing on, go on the exercise bike, whatever. Actually, I do my block of 50 minutes most days working out, but, cup of tea, whatever. So I need to set a 50-minute block.
Yeah, get it all down.
And get it all down. If it's not down in 50 minutes, it doesn't matter. And then that's going to be my goal. I know we're not talking about our goals for next week, but that is going to be my goal.
There you go.
For the coming week.
And you'll feel loads lighter for it.
I hope so. God, between doing that and clearing out my house, I'm going to be like a fairy. I'm going to have wings. I'm just going to be like Tinkerbell floating around the place.
Your husband won't know you. You'll be so light of mind.
Gosh, wow. But anyway, so if anybody's listening, maybe think about doing that. A list all the things that we were talking about, and So anything that you want to change about yourself, put that down. You can hang on to that list. But if you've got any stuff that's making you not like yourself, like me, or you're hanging on to all this old stuff that you really need to be past, or at least dealing with in some capacity, that's probably a good one to burn. But this is going to be a two-parter, this topic, because we think that there's a lot here. Sarah and I'd also like to talk about how that the other relationships in our life, how they have an influence on how we feel about ourselves. Yeah. But I think that society doesn't teach us the importance of a self-relationship, does it? I mean, that's not something anybody has ever told me.
It's not, but I think this generation are starting to be exposed to that a bit more.
Right, with more like mental awareness.
So. Yeah, I think so. And just acceptance, particularly women, acceptance of differences of sizes in the way you look. You don't have to conform to what was always the sort of beauty industry standard. That's a real movement in that as well. And we've talked about there's a difference between wanting to improve yourself for health and well-being, as opposed to wanting to improve or change yourself because you feel you have to fit into this standard of how you're supposed to look. That's completely different. So I would like to think and hope that actually there is a generational change, and it is coming and it is happening, and about how you accepting yourself and loving yourself, and look at the people that they're going to be, younger people going to be seeing in front of them on the screen, on social media. You've got such a wide range of difference now, haven't you, that they're going to be looking at, that actually that just reconfirms to them that you can accept yourself being different, accept yourself who you are, and actually that's really important to accept yourself and to have that relationship with yourself, because it has such an effect on how you then interact in society and how you move through your own life, doesn't it?
Right. And a healthy relationship with yourself, of course, can improve your mental health, which we all want to do. Your productivity, your connection with others, and it needs nurturing. And I think a lot of people don't think of having a relationship with yourself.
You have to invest in yourself.
You have to invest in yourself.
The same as any relationship. Yeah. Do you know what else you need to be able to do? You need to be able to laugh at yourself, because I think maybe we take ourselves a little too seriously, and if someone jokes something about you, you get hurt or offended or upset, you just think, all right, there's a level. I don't mean being really viciously unpleasant about you, but there's that whole just being able to laugh at yourself if you've done something stupid or done something wrong, and not be too defensive, and just lighten up a little. There's something to be said for that, but I don't think you can do that if you're not happy or sure who you are to start with, because everything seems offensive then. You feel like everything's being judged, don't you? Like, well, how dare you say that about me? Right. But actually, if you're very comfortable in your own skin and have that good balanced relationship with yourself, you can have a laugh at yourself.
Or you can, just think, oh God, like you're such a klutz, and it's okay to say that. See, I get really mad with myself when I spell things, or because I'm always doing that, because I'm always in the kitchen. But my husband, he laughs at it, and he thinks that that's just part of me, because I'm like a mini tornado.
It's your adorable quality.
It's just one of my quirky things. It's the same thing if I go into a store to look at something, and then he finds me in a completely different section, and he'll have a bit of a chuckle and just say, oh, that's just part of who I am. Yeah. Whereas I look at that as being a negative, but he looks at it as being quite endearing and funny.
Yeah.
And I think, you can't focus, Lovoni, or God, why do you go at everything like a bull at a gate? Rather than that, just accepting that's just how I am, and be okay with that. And I can try and change it, but just there's more important things about myself I need to. Well, exactly. Yeah, you don't need to. Exactly. The only person that's telling me that is me. So there's more important things that I need to focus on within myself than those things.
As an Aries, I know that I'm perfect anyway.
Right, of course. I know.
There's no need for me to change anything.
Oh, so lucky. Well, see, as a Libra, as I am, it's always the back and forth, like those scales, trying to get them just right, and that is exhausting in itself. So I just need to live with the fact that they're not always going to be. So this week, Sarah, what are your goals for this coming week?
To regroup and revisit my routine, be more committed to myself, force myself to make this time. So even though I want to go straight to my desk at 7:30, it's not doing me any favours. So don't do that. Do my other things first, like I was doing, because it was working, and just, put this week behind me with regards to not doing those things and make some progress. That's my goal.
I know you like to work out in the afternoon, like that's your preferred time. So, it's 5 o'clock, that hasn't been happening for you because you just had too much on.
And also this week there's just been, I've had 2 family birthdays, right. So it's a half term from college, so that's not that that's had a massive impact, but I've had a hospital appointment as a follow-up from my surgeries. Sometimes, isn't there, there's just life, and that's just what it is. And and because I am so busy with work, because these other things have then happened, I've then just prioritised the work outside of that.
Right.
But yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to give myself a hard time about it. It is what it is. And just start again. It's not like I've undone anything. Right. But it's just I haven't been doing it. So just refocus again.
That's when, when you are really busy like that, then, when you are trying to get a routine, that might be when it needs, tweaking a bit. So the things that you might do in the afternoon, instead you'll do them really early in the morning or something like that.
But only the week before when I was doing it, it doesn't interfere, because I'm not out here, doing it for, I'm saying out here, I'm actually out in the place where I come and do my exercise today.
That's so weird that we're both doing...
We are,
and we didn't know. No. But we're both in our exercise rooms recording this. Instead, normally we're in our office. But yeah, that's funny.
We should have been using.
We should have been. I know. I should have been on the bike. Be like,
except you might have just heard this heavy pant.
Go along with my juicing, right?
Oh, I was just about to say that.
Okay, so they're good goals.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, what about you then?
Well, I'm going to do the list. I'm going to write the list of things and bloody burn it. That's going to be my thing. Plus,
please take a video of that. Please.
Of the burning of it? Of the scroll? I have to write really small.
Visions of wood being
right. I have to write it small or something, yeah. And it's just going to be a mess. I'm just going to get it out. And
you record that, and then we can put that on Instagram on our stories.
Of the burning it. Yeah, right. That's a good idea.
Therapeutic burn.
I'll put it in with the Christmas tree. That'll really go up.
It'll be like the old days when they used to burn their bras. It's like another version of that.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be my goal. So, and things that I'm cooking. Well, I've got a little thing on my website that I've done for in season. So right now, things like, broccoli and cauliflower and all those veggies like cabbage, Brussels sprouts and stuff, they're good because they like the cooler weather. So, they're really good right now. So I've got a broccoli and cauliflower section on my site. Plus, last week we were talking about parenting, and Sarah did a guest post for my site. So I've put that on there. But I also added some batch cooking things for that too. So I've got included like a section on there and some recipes that are good for batch cooking, like really good glazed Asian inspired meatloaf. That's really good. Things, that you can make, freeze, put on sandwiches, heat up, whatever. But this week what I am making is, yummy. I'm going to do a 3-cheese potato leek and bacon frittata. Doesn't that sound good? Nice. So, that could be eaten cold, because I am in photography shooting the Mexican cookbook. Okay. So, yeah, it's a 2-week thing, but so I've got this week and then a break and then the following week. So this week Sarah and I are actually going to record 2 episodes because I can't do it next week.
You'll be
so
away,
anyway, yeah. So I'm going to make some stuff that we can, eat, of an evenings, because I don't feel like, I get home quite late and I don't feel like cooking. So yeah, the frittata, a really good egg salad sandwich. That's excellent. I'm going to call it the best egg salad sandwich.
The best?
Yeah. Smoky fajita chicken tacos, or they can smoky chicken tacos. I'm back and forth whether it's fajita or whether they're tacos. They can be either. Makes quite a lot. And then what I did is, testing the recipe, is I then turned the leftovers into a few other things. So that's happening. And then crunchy lemon rosemary pork chops. And maybe an easy rum apple pie.
Wow.
Yeah, just like in a skillet type thing. So yeah, with some puff pastry. Yeah. So that's what I'm making. So what about you?
Just as a bit of balance, I might do beans on toast.
I love beans on toast. Sarah's going to make her plan for what she's going to be cooking.
Beans on toast. I might do scrambled eggs.
That sounds good too. Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm definitely going to make, because I have completely run out, another batch of my chicken tagine that we talked about a few weeks ago. 'Cause I'm out
that
of that
freezes really well.
It does. I'm due another batch cook of that, so I'm going to do that this weekend. I'm going to have a look for some cauliflower. I really fancy cauliflower, so I'm going to have a look on your section. But I'm going to do some cauliflower dishes this week, I think. I just really fancy that.
There's a baked chicken, cauliflower, I can't remember what else I've put in there, recipe that's, you just throw it all in a dish and bake it.
And this week now, because you've released, and I'm going to put it up on our Instagram page, your eggs recipe.
Oh, my marinated eggs.
The marinated eggs are on their way.
Yeah, that's so good with some rice. Just some rice and, some veggies, and then you tip the marinade over. All the veggies are raw. Super easy.
Those are my 3 things. The marinated eggs. I'm going to make a massive batch cook of the tagine. Yeah, and then have a look at a cauliflower dish.
I think I still have a tagine in the freezer. I might get that out for lunch. That sounds delicious.
So good.
Okay, so episode 9, make sure you tune in to our next episode, which is going to be the second part to this whole self-relationship, improving the relationship that we have with ourselves, improving, how we think about ourselves. And the bearing that can have on our other relationships, but also the relationships that we have with people, how they can make us think. Affect us, thinking about, ourselves. So anyway, tune in for that. Thanks for listening.
See you in the next one.
We will see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.